And today we're talking to Rob Blezard, a career detective of 35 years with Victoria Police. We're talking crime, and kidnapping and dumb crooks. A lie is where you willfully mislead somebody knowing that what you're saying is factually incorrect.
I think I lie very well for my profession.
What does a liar look like? What does a psychopath look like?
I just want to say I hope there's a lot of criminals listening to this. We'll be picking up some good tips.
And welcome back. And now, Brad's not with us at the moment, so I don't know where exactly he is. But I do have a very interesting guest today. Rob is our first guest since we've started the podcast. And Rob's a personal friend. I've known him for many years, since I hate to mention that, but I would say the 1989, 1990?
92.
Yeah, 92. Because we both worked at Brunswick Police Station and of course Rob has moved on from there. Oh, hang on a minute. Hang on. Oh, here's Brad now. Brad's walking in. Just, I wonder what happened to him.
You have to say it. You have to say the words. For the benefit of the tape, Brad Oakes has entered the room. Thank you. I mean, I've set that up.
Got it. Yeah, got it.
All right. Hello. How are you? G'day, Rob. Good to meet you, mate.
Yeah, you too.
So to get the ball rolling, Rob, I might get you to give us a bit of an introduction about yourself, your background, starting when you joined.
Yeah, so I signed up in 1988, did 10 years of uniform work. I worked at in the city, worked out in Kew, Heidelberg, and then Brunswick. Brunswick's probably where everything sort of really started working for me in terms of my police career.
I remember when we were working there together, you would start the night, you'd do a night shift, and back in those days you'd have 8 to 10 jobs on your plate before you even got out. So it was a really good learning station, wasn't it? A training station.
It was brilliant. We had the best sergeants.
They were good workers and loved catching crooks.
Surely Heidelberg would have been interesting.
Yeah. It was, yeah. I was a constable at Heidelberg.
Yeah.
And we had some good sergeants, but at Brunswick we had the sergeants who all had come from the major crime squad when they got disbanded, so they were a pretty good bunch of blokes to work for.
They're very good operators, and they were still into it. So we would be, banging doors down, and they'd be right there.
Yeah, they were great times. Good place to learn your craft from those guys. They were something else.
And there's a bit of everything, wasn't it? Street crime, drugs, everything, just about everything. And of course, it was a bit of a melting pot, wasn't it? A lot of crooks used to live there. I mean, it's quite gentrified now, isn't it, the old Brunswick?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I've spent a bit of time there at the restaurants, and it's a different world now.
Yeah, I can remember the Moreland Hotel where all the bikies used to go to drink. So there's some pretty big issues down there in the old days. The Black Ewlands used to go drinking down there. I remember that.
Yeah.
They'd be there at night time, we'd be there in the morning after the night shift.
Oh, yeah, of course.
never crossed paths.
Oh, yeah. So after uniform, where'd you go?
So I went into Crime Command as my first detective spot, and I worked initially at Gaming and Vice, which pretty much incorporates all organised crime.
I remember when I was going for my CI, a friend of mine said, you should apply for licensing Vice and Gaming, and I didn't want to go because I think every guy likes a drink, a bet and a woman. Yeah. So I kept going.
Yeah, and so that was a really good training ground for a detective because you were dealing with the Mock Bells and the Gangitatos and the Morans of this world because they're all involved in that type of crime.
Yep. Which, of course, Mockbell lived in Brunswick.
He did.
Won't mention the exact address, but lived in Brunswick for a while.
Didn't he have like the
only Ferrari in Brunswick?
No, he had a. I went for an audition for a film once that he was somehow involved in. There was some premises out the back of some premises off Sydney Road that I think was.
The Brunswick police station cells?
It was the other side of the road. It was the western side of the road. It's really weird because it was just I was about 10 minutes into the audition. I thought, these guys were all serious crims. And somehow they got some money to make a film.
Yeah, some of the watering holes there attracted some of the good crooks back in the day.
Yeah, good crooks.
Okay, so you worked in organised crime?
Yeah, so from there I went on to the task force that investigated the Vicki Jacobs murder and the John Furlan murder. So that was a really good experience.
And of course, for our viewers, or listeners, I should say, overseas, the John Furlan case was a guy that was murdered by a car bomb, which really, I've seen that car, and it was absolutely, it was detonated at like 8 o'clock or something in the morning, wasn't it?
Yeah, a busy
school
set of
kids.
strip shops.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, it was quite.
And how long did you work on that case?
So I'd spent 2 years on those two jobs, and then I ended up at organised crime. And at that time, we just started up the Middle East organised crime unit to investigate the Middle East organised crime figures that were taking hold in Melbourne, or they'd actually already taken hold. So it was now a chance for us to start shutting them down. So
where was Crime Command? Where were you?
So Kilda Road.
Right.
So it's the old crime headquarters. I think back in those days it was a crime department, and then it got a new fancy name.
Yeah.
And of course, you were in the homicide squad?
Yeah, so I went to homicide quite a few years later on, but in between that time I worked at armed crime. I worked at San Diego Task Force, which was set up to investigate. So I go back a step. Organised crime Middle Eastern unit did such a good job that they closed us down. They said that we'd cleaned the streets, but that was the reality of what was going on. So when I went to
why did they close it down?
Who knows?
Who was PC then? Who was the commissioner?
It would have been Christine at the time.
Right.
Yeah. So we had done a terrific job, but we hadn't sorted the problem out.
Yeah,
and it's not a problem that ever goes away anyway. You've got to be on top of it. So.
No.
And so I went to armed crime, and then after armed crime, they said, we're starting up a new task force to investigate Middle East organised crime. But they called it San Diego Task Force.
Right.
So
Which isn't anywhere near the Middle East. San Diego.
No.
It's in South America, isn't it?
I don't know who came up with the name, but so we had 40 unsolved shootings from armed crime that were taken over to this new task force because it was all Middle East driven, and it was generally the same players, same ones are involved in all the tobacco wars at the moment.
Yeah.
All that. So they've been around for a long time, and they continued to thrive. So yeah, but we solved every one of those 40 shootings over an 8-year period. It was quite an amazing task force.
So out of those 40 shootings, how many were murdered?
No, these are all non-fatal shootings.
Okay.
So your kneecappings, drive-bys, that sort of thing.
And because a lot of people talk about the underworld crimes and that, and all the attention were the early ones, Carl Williams and everyone else like that. But of course, this I would say second war was quite violent, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, certainly the war between the Hadaras and the Chayuks, which occurred when I was working at organised crime. That was one of the reasons we were there.
Yeah.
To start looking at those families and resolve these issues.
Right. They they're in the north and in the west. Yeah.
So yeah, Hadaras and the Chayuks are out west.
Right.
Altona.
Yeah.
Brooklyn. Those.
So over all those years, you've probably worked on some pretty interesting cases, but the case we're going to talk about today is a kidnapping with a number of twists and turns.
Yeah.
So set that one up.
So when I was working, I think I was probably working at armed crime at the time, and each office had an on-call crew to deal with specific crime themes. And our crime theme, one of the crime themes that we picked up were kidnappings. And so we had a call one afternoon to attend the major incident room. Anybody who was on call turned out to this room. And it was basically a room set up with whiteboards, telephones, desks, everything. Just move in. It's a ready-to-go office. And it was called the major incident room, and it was where big jobs were run from.
Where was it?
Still at St Kilda Road.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so we turned up to a briefing and were told the only information we got, which was the only information available at the time, was somebody had contacted a person who was under investigation already by one of the other squads, and they had a telephone intercept in place, and this target had rung and said words to the effect, "We've got him, where do you want us to take him?" Now, we didn't know who the victim was. We didn't know who the guy who made the phone call was. the only person we knew could identify was the guy whose phone was being intercepted. And so we started from scratch with, we don't know who this guy is, we don't know who the victim is, we don't know who's taking him. All we know is that they're asking, where do we take him? So the guy who we say is sitting at the top of the tree says, well, I'm tied up at the moment, don't bring him here, we'll catch up later. And so one of the interesting things that happened at the start of the briefing, one of the members realised that he'd left his phone at home. And so he only lived in Kew, and so he went home to collect his phone. And on the way back to the office, he realised he didn't have enough petrol in the car to be able to run this job, which is most live kidnappings go for days.
Was it member, you mean a police officer?
One of the police members who was part of the investigation crew had to go home. Anyway, so he decides to fill up with petrol at a petrol station. So he's got his hand on the pump, and he just looks around, as detectives do. We never ever stare at one place. We're always darting around.
Eyes about, yeah.
Yeah, and he's looking at this car behind him and thinks, yeah, that doesn't look right. Probably a stolen car, got 4 young heads in it, but hey, I've got a job to go to. But he writes down the registration on his hand.
See, that's training. That's what we we're talking about one of the previous episodes.
Yeah, and so he, anyway, it meant nothing to him at the time, but he just had a gut feeling that something in that car wasn't quite right. So he comes back to the office, and by the time he gets back to the office, we've identified who the caller was. Even though the phone had been in a false name, this guy had used the same false name for all his phones that he was ditching every week. And so they were able to identify who he was based on the false name that he'd used. And so we started, now we've got 2 players' names. So we've got the guy he's calling, we think's probably ordered the kidnapping, and we've got the kidnapper. And
how do you identify who the caller was?
So the phone was in a false name,
right?
But the analyst did a fantastic job and went back and had a look at that name over lots of investigations prior, and that that name kept coming up with different phone numbers.
Right.
But somebody had worked out who he was 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
And so his name is in the system under that name as an alias. And so now we know who the potential kidnapper is. We don't know who the victim is, but no idea who the victim is. So what we do know is we were able to ping that phone and worked out that it was bouncing around Frankston.
So when you ping a phone, how accurate, how close can you get?
I can get with, say, 15 metres.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but the phone was bouncing around. We were, pinging it every 3 minutes, and they'd sort of map it and see where it's going. So all we knew was the phone was in Frankston, and we're assuming our victim's going to be down in Frankston as well. So we deployed, all the detectives then were deployed down to the Frankston police station.
Right.
And so when we got down there, we were talking to the local detectives, and we said, "Oh, do you know this fella?" I can't recall his name at the moment. Oh, yeah, he's one of our local drug dealers. He deals at all the hotels around Frankston. Do you know where he lives? No, he doesn't live anywhere. He lives in hotels, just bouncing around dealing drugs. So we then said, well, what we need to do is ring every hotel in Frankston to find out if he's put his head down at any particular one. I had no idea how many hotels there are in Frankston.
Right.
There's 80 or 90.
Oh, wow.
Can I just make 2 observations? First of all, I just want to go back to Q. Right now, I presume that this is going to evolve into something. So, all right, we'll put a pin in that. Also, just the thing about Frankston is, people don't know, Frankston is, 40 kilometres from the CBD of Melbourne. It's on the beach.
Yeah.
It's the only suburb. It's the only place in Victoria that the Riot Act has ever been read. The Riot Act was read there on a New Year's Eve last century, which is gives you an idea that, and you know, some notorious crimes have come out of that area as well. It gives you an idea that it can be a bit of a shithole
with a lot of hotels.
With a lot of hotels, a
90.
lot of shithole hotels, as we discovered.
Yeah, well, they were. Yeah, I was when you were talking, I was thinking. I was picturing Frankston. I was trying to think.
Have you performed at a few of those hotels down there?
Oh, you know that corner. There's a corner in Frankston on that's Aperen Highway, and there's 4 pubs. The old 21st century. Yeah, and this used to be the saloon bar and the pier, and there's a family name of the other one. Now, we've done comedy in those over the years. We've done comedy in those pubs.
So what do your hecklers like? They don't shoot you?
No, they're normally on their best behaviour because you got to be a fairly tough bouncer to work that corner, you know. But I was doing a gig there. There's a bar. It's called the Young Street Tavern now, and I couldn't find it. And I rang the promoter and I said to him, I can't find it. He goes, it's near the Frankston Arts Centre. And I said to him, I thought he was taking the piss. And I said, I'm serious, I can't find it.
In the middle of Frankston.
There isn't. It's a 4-story building. It's a very nice
a graffiti
place.
art centre.
It was a shock to me. So you're searching in these seedy motel, looking at.
So we're now searching every hotel to see if anybody's checked in recently or he's checked in under his own name. So it's a needle in a haystack stuff, but we'll get there eventually. And we deployed a surveillance team down that way just to look out for cars this guy we knew had driven, or as it turned out he was on a motorbike. And the surveillance team picked up the motorbike outside a hotel in Frankston. So now we know where he is, and we're thinking that our victim's probably in that hotel. But we managed to speak to the manager of the place.
At this stage, you don't know what the state of health of this victim is, do you?
We don't even know why he's been kidnapped. We just don't know. And so the inquiries show that he's the only one staying in the room, and the manager was able to look at CCTV and he said nobody else has come in that room in the last 12 hours except him. He's just coming and going, doing his thing. So he said, well, stay on him. We need to find out hopefully he's held somewhere else at some other motel. It could have been in a house for all we knew. It could have been there. We didn't know. So one of the last places we called was the hotel next to the Frankston police station.
Yeah, right.
Literally next door.
Oh, God.
And the manager there confirmed that 5 blokes had checked into a hotel in the last 2 hours. It had been booked under the name of our guy on the motorbike, our kidnapper.
Hiding in plain sight right next to the cop shop.
God,
the irony was that when we arrived at the police station, there was 10 carloads of us, and we were forming up and having a briefing and a chat in the car park next to the hotel.
Jeez.
The whole time. And even when the SOG came down, because they were always going to do the recovery of the victim once we'd found him, they were kidding up less than 80 metres from where the victim was.
You know, I think I even know the motel.
It's literally right next door. It's a 9-9.
Yeah, that's probably a
sandwich for me.
Probably a weird, for him. I just like the idea that if you're going to kidnap somebody, put petrol in the car before you know.
Yeah, about that.
That's pretty funny. Yeah.
Yeah. So what unfolded from there was now we reasonably confident our victim is less than 100 metres away from us, and our biggest concern was, have we been burnt?
Did the windows sort of back out onto the...
No, well, as it turned out, it was funny because when we spoke to the manager, he said that he had 2 rooms available. One of them literally looked out onto the roadway where we were. The other one was on the other side of the building looking out towards the beach, or in the beach direction. Yeah. So had he put them in that first room that was available, we probably would never have found the victim. And I be honest, I don't think he would have survived the day.
Yeah.
So now we knew pretty good idea with it that he was there, our victim was there. We didn't know how many people were going to be in the room with him, so the SOG were given the task of doing the entry.
Special Operations, yeah.
Special Operations Group, and they did a fantastic job, and they brought our victim out. Now, you've just got to imagine the hotel room sort of sat higher than the car park.
Yeah.
So it was like a tiered hotel.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was like a carport area where you'd park your car, so you couldn't really see the cars from your room.
Yeah.
So they were lucky enough to get all their cars in there, sneak up to the room, and they've put the door in, and in they go, and they found our victim. Now, the victim's been tortured over this 6 to 7 hour period, and he's in not the best shape.
Not good. Yeah.
And so the SOG do the handover with us and hand us 4 offenders who were in the room, and they give us our victim, which we take straight across to the police station. So when we take the victim, I end up taking a statement off the victim over a 4-hour period, and one of the members comes into the room. This is the member who had been to the petrol station,
Yeah.
and the victim says, "I saw you earlier today in a petrol station. I was trying to get your attention."
Oh, wow.
Right.
He said, "I saw you right down the rego." He said, "I was hoping you were going to do more than
Wow.
that." And he said,
What's the chance?
He said, "Well, to be honest," he goes, "I didn't even know."
You're the luckiest victim in the world.
Oh, he was.
Yeah.
He was very lucky because I've no doubt they had planned to,
Yeah.
if they didn't. And I'll tell you the reason why he got kidnapped, and
Yeah.
he was very lucky to still be alive because they had tortured him pretty bad, and over every hour they were trying to recover the money. He was made to play Russian roulette with a firearm, and we found one round in the chamber once we recovered the gun. So,
Well, that's not smart either, because if it works,
yeah,
they go, we can't get anything out of him now.
well, we can't get our money
These
back.
genius crooks.
Yeah. And so,
Didn't sound like they're the brightest crayons in the pack of these guys.
no, they're not. They were.
All great.
And we'll go back, and I'll tell you the story as to
Yeah.
why he got kidnapped, because it just shows you how little intelligence they did have. So the victim then starts telling the story. He's hanging around these Frankston drug dealers, and they're talking about getting hold of a firearm to do a job. And he says, "Oh, I know a bloke. I know a bikie who'll get you a gun." And the boy and the crew said to him, "Well, we need a handgun. Can he supply it?" He said, "I'll make a phone call. Phone call gets paid. Yep, he can supply us a handgun. It's going to cost us 10 grand. So, which is pretty standard these days. Yeah. Cheaper if you get them from a licensed dealer, but
Yeah, right.
they can't. So he then visits this bikie and he does the transaction. And this bikie lives in a court. And so they do the transaction at the front door, $10,000. He takes the gun away. He goes and sits in his car, and then he starts making phone calls. And the bikie's looking out the window going, "Is he calling the police? Is he going to have me run through? Or is he calling somebody else now that I've got this 10,000 cash?" So he becomes very suspicious and goes out to this kid sitting in the car and says, "Give me the gun back." And the kid can't do anything about it. He's dealing with, a bikie.
He's got a gun.
He's got the gun. Well, he did have the gun. He didn't have it very long.
Yeah.
So they got taken
Did he
out
keep
of
the
it.
cash?
And he kept the cash. But now our victim's got a problem.
Yeah.
The deal hasn't gone. The deal has been done, but it's backfired.
Yeah.
And so now he's got to make the phone call. You know that $10,000 you gave me?
It looks dodgy, don't it?
And, of course, what did they think? He's been to the pokies,
Yeah.
he's been to the
Money's gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
whatever he's done with it, bought some
Yeah.
drugs. And so they say, "Well, you're dead."
Wow.
And so he can't go home now. And he's driving around Frankston thinking, "Well, where do I go? What do I do from here?" And eventually they find him driving around a car, and they box him in and they take him out of the car, and that's when the kidnapping starts.
So where'd they find him?
So he was just driving around Frankston, just doing
What was
circles.
So it was Q, nothing to do with it. How come they saw him in the car?
They were looking for him.
So they just
looking
happened to
for
see
him
him
'cause he's-
driving around. So
Yeah.
they knew what car he drove.
Yeah.
Yep.
And probably knew what streets he'd be in too. And so they found him, kidnapped him, and that's when the job all kicked off.
Right.
And so, he don't know if that was his last foray into crime, but he walked away with some pretty.
What a learning curve, eh?
He walked away with some pretty serious injuries, and but look, he eventually stood up in court, and all the 5 offenders got reasonable sentences for the crime.
Right. That's
I've always said that good crooks don't get caught.
yeah.
And what a comedy of errors on that. I mean, really, you think about, like you said, filling up petrol.
Filling up with petrol.
But what's the chance of the victim being in the car when the off-duty member is filling up his car and had the presence of mind to think, you know what, this doesn't look right, writes the rego number. And that's because if that hadn't happened, you guys wouldn't have been told. You wouldn't have known.
No, and we did find out during the investigation that there was possibly a territory involved, but even that registration on his hand still wouldn't have meant anything to him at the time until we found it in the car park at the hotel.
Did he go back to the office and do a check on Leap or something, a car? So he eventually contacted. How did you guys find out?
So we found out when we found that car in the hotel car park. After we recovered the victim.
Right. So then there's the genius who goes, well, what hotel? Well, we got one with a view, will we? A view of the police station.
And maybe their motive or their reason for that would be they were probably all reporting on bail anyway, so they only have to walk across the road.
My God.
Maybe it was a save petrol kind of an idea.
Yeah.
Or maybe they didn't even give it 2 thoughts.
It's probably that as well. So
I love the idea of it as a save petrol thing. Because petrol's a bit of a theme in their lives, isn't it?
yeah.
That's a lovely tale. That's a movie.
And it's so many things went right for us in terms of the fact that they stayed around the Frankston area. Had they gone down to Hastings, we would have.
It makes you wonder how many crimes are solved just by little things like that. And sometimes, you might trip over something or something that doesn't even sound relatable. It comes up and you just pursue those leads and bang.
Yeah, well, I'm fascinated by coincidences. One of my business is called the Coincidence Club because the end of the joke I do is I'm a member of the Coincidence Club. We don't meet; we just run into each other. And I love the idea that crime can be solved just simply by coincidence. And the fact
but also,
that
not
cops
just
are always
coincidence. I mean, you've got to follow through, and a lot of the times it is pretty good, detective work, and some of it is painstaking. I mean, you talk about ringing every hotel. I mean, there are jobs in the past that you've got very little work with, and it takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of resources. I don't think the average person or the average schmo really considers that, do they?
No, for every lead you've got 5. Going off in different directions, they've got nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you get IRs, intelligence reports, and some of them are just dobbing in mates who they don't like, or a disturbed ex or something like that.
That's the tax office as well. Very much. There's a lot of people dropping a dime on their brother and their neighbour.
So, but some of those, and I'm sure you worked on a few, some of these investigations can have thousands of IR intelligence reports, and they've all got to be gone through. And then you've got crime stoppers and tip-offs and all the others.
I was reading a long time ago, I think the New York coppers, what they used to do is they had the tombs where they locked everybody up, on remand prior to sending them off to wherever they were going to go. And I think it was every morning or every Monday morning at least, every detective who was available went down for the identity parade and they brought every one of them across. This is a long time ago, just so that they're clocking every face, so that every D in New York knows every shithead, And I know because a mate of mine who was ex-job, well, we were having a pizza in Shaggy's Pizza in Port Melbourne, and he looks out the window and he goes, "He's a crook." And I said, "Do you know him?" And he goes, "No, I don't, but I do. I can tell. And
His
the guy-
eyes are too close together.
well, the guy came straight in and then just said, "Hello, such and such," and he said, "You don't remember me? You've arrested me a couple of times." So, I know that there's a lot of you've got to be observant, haven't you? And aware.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, there are some members that are not that observant. I've worked with a couple of those.
Yeah.
Work on night shift, and you see that, and go, see what?
Yeah.
So, I think some of the best operators I've ever worked with, and Rob would be in that category, just question things. Things don't look right. They don't make sense, and you just pursue it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
A lot of cases are solved by.
As I say, the other thing is information is the key to what we do. So people had a good example. I remember working night shift Brunswick one night. We pulled over a car and there were older crooks, and they were pretty confident that they're going to pull the wool
Different
over
breed of
the
crooks back in
eyes
those
of these two young senior cotties uniformed senior cotties on the van. And I looked in the car, and there were things in there I thought, there's not enough there to be charged, but they're up to no good. They're definitely up to no good. And so I made a note, not just a mental note, but I made a physical note, and we used to put in the information reports back then. There was another name for them. And
Didn't we have a book? Didn't we have a book? Not the stiff shit book, but
it was a leap form we used to fill out. And
yep. Oh, like a consorting?
No, it wasn't consorting. But anyway, I made a note of the fact that these guys had the big industrial bolt cutters, and they had masks and
why would you have that all that gear in the car? I mean, the average schmo doesn't carry that gear.
Yeah, when I say masks, I'm talking about like for oxyacetylene and that sort of stuff.
Safe breaking stuff.
There's some old time crooks driving around through Brunswick, middle of the night. Now I had nothing to pit on them. I had to let them go. But it turns out the SRS squad, which was a special response squad, the next morning, had worked out that I'd checked the car the night before and said, did you notice anything in the car? And I said, well, here's the list of things they had in the car. And they were able to do the warrant.
Connect it to another job,
Yeah, so they'd actually just finished the job, but all the stolen property was in another vehicle. So this was just the break-in crew. And so they were able to solve that just because we'd taken notes of what was in the car.
There you go.
And they subsequently did warrants and found the
which could be connected to other crimes,
which married up, forensically to.
Did you get an attaboy for that? Did you get a good on you?
Oh, I think I did. Yeah, I think I did from the guys back then.
Something you just mentioned there, Steve. I'd like to just know what the stiff shit book was.
It was a book. Got to be careful what I say. It was a book basically where members did silly things, or silly things were recorded, and they ended up banning it, didn't they?
They did.
But I think originally it was they had a book. We had collators. Do you know what a collator is? Basically, in each. Back in those days, at each police station, you have somebody responsible for just collecting all the crime reports, looking at trends, looking at data, seeing who was active in the area for burglaries or whatever, and then they would give that to the van or members out on the road, because you needed to see these days it's really highly tech with all sorts of programs and that, but back in those days it was just pins on boards, but still a lot of crimes were solved. Just one interesting, talking about how observant members are. I was upgraded as a sergeant in Brunswick, and I think it was Highway Patrol or Traffic Operations Group back in those days. Now, what would happen as a matter of courtesy if they arrested somebody for DUI or ex-PCA, drink driving, just as a courtesy, they'd let the sergeant know what they've got, and they'd put them through what they call an attendance register. So it's just what's happening, all that type of thing. And anyway, I walked down, and there a couple TOG members talking, and I said, what do you got? And they said, we've got this guy, we're giving him a breath test, but we're also going to do him for fail to display registration plates. Now, I must admit, I don't know about Rob, but I was never really big into traffic. It didn't really interest me. But anyway, so I put my head around the door, and well-known Brunswick crook, and I go, I go out to the car, and I notice the steering lock had been forced, and I thought, I look in the back, and there's video, the old VCRs, there's, all sorts of bits and pieces. And I go back and I start talking to the crook, and he rolled over for 3 burglaries. Yeah. And but that comes down to not just observation, but just,
follow up.
Just, looking at things, paying attention. And some of the biggest crimes have been solved by due really good diligence and observations of members. Yeah. And at the time, it may not mean anything, like Rob's story, but it does mean something. And that's why it's always important for people when they see things, they don't always report it. They don't think it's important, but sometimes you can connect the dots, and it is.
Well, you take Easy Street, for example.
Oh, yeah.
The notes that were kept by detectives back in those days, if they hadn't written it down, it's lost forever.
Yeah.
And this is vital evidence to put somebody away for a pretty horrendous crime. So,
on your stiff shit, my mate, when he was working at a inner city suburban station, he said he turned up late for something, and I said, what happened to him? And he said he had to fill out a report because he and his partner had gone to arrest someone, and he said, and while I'm chasing this guy down the street, I see out the corner of my eye this CI car just rolling down the street. No one in it.
No, that's not good.
Straight into a parked car.
No, that's not good either.
Yeah. So he said, technically, I wasn't driving.
Very technically. But going back to the explanation, I think you haven't quite ticked off on what the stiff shit book was all about. So if you'd messed up, you'd done something silly, it was there
everyone knew
forever for everyone to read.
Right.
And sometimes it was coupled with a photograph.
Compromising photographs or thing. But of course, some of that could be potentially subpoenaed in court cases and that by the defence. So you've got to be really careful, not just about your notes, but what was in there. And there were some hilarious stories in there, no doubt about it.
Oh, that's what we want.
Yeah.
All right, so he got away. You saved him, and he hopefully went on to a life of no crime.
Yeah, but he was a very lucky boy.
Yeah,
very lucky boy.
And I imagine he was low level, and he just big noted and
correct
got himself into the biggest amount of shit.
A little bit too deep for himself.
Just goes to show you how quickly things can change,
and what sort of punishment these people will bring to bear for a very minor. Sometimes I've seen murders committed for $20 drug debt.
Yeah,
it's just crazy.
I just wondered too about torturing somebody in a motel, and you'd just be shushing them all the time. You turn the pliers and go shh now quietly.
I think in this case they were hitting him in the shins with a machete.
Oh,
it was a lot of his shin bones were broken and.
Yeah, but you'd think a hotel room would probably attract a little bit of attention from cries and screams and stuff like that, wouldn't you?
No, not really. That'd be pretty common.
Oh,
yeah. Probably thought it was the police station. It's near the cells.
So before we wrap up, what's the funniest thing that you've ever experienced in the job? Putting you on the spot here. Funniest thing. With a member or a crook? Doesn't have.
I was going to say, I personally found it funny, but I'm sure she didn't at the time. I'll tell a very, very quick story. A lady who lived in Brunswick decided to go out clubbing. Her husband was working afternoon or night shift, and she decided to go out, and she decided to pick up and have a takeaway, take one back to the house.
I was wondering what you could say then. Pick up a takeaway.
She'd picked up a fella at the nightclub and taken him back home because hubby was working, so she needed a little bit of company, and the little bit of company decided that when she was in the shower getting all freshened up for what was about to unfold, that he'd grab her purse and shoot out the door. Now, she'd been drinking very, very heavily at the nightclub, enough to blind her judgment as to what was about to happen. So she decides that she'll go down to the police station and report the theft of her handbag. Now, I'm sitting in the watch house and we had the police radio going in the background, and I could hear reports from D24 about this car that was side-swapping just about everything up and down Sydney Road.
Right.
And anyway, so I thought, well, the van crew will deal with that. 10 minutes later, this woman staggers into the police station and tells me a story about having had her purse stolen by this fella she'd picked up at the nightclub. And then I started to think, did you drive here? She said, yeah. I said, oh, show me where your car is. We go into the car park and there's not a straight panel on this thing.
Right.
Oh, no.
She is the one who's been bouncing off cars the whole way. And so
But she did report her handbag stolen.
she did report her handbag stolen, but in the meantime, her husband has got home and she's not home and he's worried. So he comes down to the police station and report her missing.
No, it's getting worse.
By this stage, she's now out the back getting breath tested. And she's about to lose her licence. And the husband, he worked out what had been going on.
No.
And
so all the damage to the cars, lose the licence, and
your husband
gets found out.
Yeah.
Ouch.
And she wouldn't have had a licence on it too because the handbag got nicked.
And she got no action that night.
Oh, what a night. All right, well, wrapping up. Thanks very much, Rob. It's been most informative, and thanks for coming in.
Yeah, no, pleasure.
Thanks. Good to meet you, mate. Cheers.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks,
Brad.
All right.
Until next week,
All right.
over to you, Brad.
Cheers, Steve. And I'll see you then.
Cheers.
Bye. I just want to say I hope there's a lot of criminals listening to this. You'll be picking up some good tips.